This is Marty Stewart with SeminarSecrets.com. You can hear the complete version of this big seminar interview by going to www.SeminarSecrets.com.
Okay, well, we are muted out, and it's a funny thing getting booted off my own teleconference, but
is everyone still there?
And it's just one of those feelings, knowing that you're talking to absolutely nobody, and you get this little beep on the phone and wondering what that is. But again, first of all, let me do this. Let me start off the call with, I'd like to welcome everyone to the call tonight. My name is Armand Morin, and today's call is a little bit different than normal. Not only do we have a great speaker, but we are doing this call live from Australia. As I mentioned earlier, we're in a hotel room looking over Sydney, Australia, and we're just having a great time. Got down here, just got here a couple days ago, and but we are going to do this call as promised, and we have Mike Stewart. He's actually sitting right here in the hotel room with me. And tonight's call with Mike is all about audio, how to add audio to your website, how to really just make your website spin, buzz, do anything you want, utilizing the power of the human voice. So we're going to talk with Mike in just a moment, but again, folks, I just want to remind you that this call is sponsored by the BigSeminar, and those of you that don't know about it yet, the big seminar is happening here very, very shortly. In fact, it's happening in just a little over 30 days down in Orlando, Florida. We got great speakers, a great lineup. Not only do we have Mike Stewart, but we have Mark Victor Hansen, author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, author of the 1 Minute Millionaire with Robert Allen. Mark's going to be with us down there. We're really excited about that. We're also going to be having Alex Mondosian. He's going to be on our call in a couple weeks here. We also are going to have Yannick Silver, Jimmy D. Brown, Jim Edwards, Michael Fortin, one of the greatest copywriters that ever lived, David Garfinkel, Bruce Safran, Fred Gleek, and the list goes on. Stephen Pierce, I almost forget, didn't want to forget Stephen, but we have Stephen Pierce on that's going to be with us, and you don't want to miss what Stephen's talking about. He's going to be talking about his Pierce Power Plays, which he's never talked about before. But we're going to have a great time down in Orlando. I'm giving away a 2004 Mustang convertible. I mean, think about that. You could be going home with a 2004 Mustang convertible, and so we're really excited about that. That should make the event just extremely exciting. But most of all, the whole purpose of the event, besides all the other fun and activities and everything else that we're doing, is to teach you how to take your business to the next level on the Internet. And we're going to do that. We're going to just give you as much information. We're going to condense literally years worth of knowledge into a 3-day span, and we're going to do that all in Orlando. So again, all you have to do is click on that link. We got something that is going to blow you away by the end of this call. I can guarantee you, because it's something that Mike had told me about just a few minutes ago, and I thought he was nuts. But I'll tell you about that more on a little bit later. We'll tell you about it later, so just stay with us. But first thing I'd like to do, though, is get into the call with Mike. And so some of you may not know Mike and what he's done. Mike has been involved in the recording industry for many, many years, has worked with some of the top people in the music industry. And a few years ago, he simply took all that knowledge that he was using to make studio quality music and started showing people how to do that same type of technique on the Internet. And you know what? It's responsible for people like myself, like Alex Mondosian, like Jim Edwards, like Yannick Silver, John Reese, and Jimmy D. Brown, and many others, taking our audio quality on the net to the next level, and it's all due to Mike's help. And so we're going to talk with Mike about that now. But first, Mike, I'd like to welcome you to the Big Seminar Preview Series.
Hey, thanks, Armand. It's great to be here with you, and Australia is just awesome, everyone. It's unbelievable.
But, well, Mike, let's talk about this because, just like on many of these calls, I've been asking people what you did before the Internet.
I am a musician, first off. I wanted to be able to make a living as a musician, which is a tough goal as a kid. Your parents and in-laws and everyone encourage you not to be a musician because it's a hard life to make a living at. And I knew that commercials and radio and television commercials and different aspects of commercial audio was closer to being a musician with a real job. And the way to be a musician and get paid to be a musician, I had to own a recording studio. At least that was my path. I figured if I started a recording studio in Atlanta back in the 80s and would do jingles, radio advertisements, music for television commercials, music for industrial films, all kinds of different projects that were corporate projects, I would get to be hired as a musician in my own studio. You hired the studio, you got me as the musician. And it achieved the goal that I envisioned as a kid, as I got paid to be a piano player and a guitar player for radio and television commercials. And I did that for 20 years, from 1980 until about the end of 1999.
So you got paid to play.
I got paid to play my instrument. and the thing that I didn't understand back in those days is I was trading hours for dollars. There was only so many hours in the week that I could work, and there was almost so much of a rate I could command. And we were constantly looking for new customers to send out billable hours, and it worked fine. We made a great living. It paid well, but it was not. I don't consider it a business. It was just constantly, and it was a burnout factor. After 20 years of working with advertising agencies, I lost my passion for it. I started hating what I loved, which was music. So that's what turned me to figuring out a way to do something as a different business model. And looking at the internet, we were very computer savvy because doing audio, and there was a music language back in the 80s introduced that all musicians went crazy over called MIDI, M-I-D-I. And so we were very comfortable with computers. So the internet was just a branch of what we were already working with, but the difference was when I looked at the internet, it was just way too silent. There were technologies even emerging as early as 96 that allowed audio to function on dial-up, but commercial businesses and websites weren't really utilizing that power. And I knew the power of the spoken word, I knew the power of the music, I knew the power of sound effects, and all these aural elements that we used in production to help market on radio and television, but no one was doing it on the internet.
Now, there's a couple things, though, because, just kind of give you the scope of, Mike has worked with some pretty big clients, some of them nationally known clients as far as doing audio and correct me if I'm wrong, but jingles,
yes,
essentially for them as well too. So you've worked with a whole realm of people, from the small business person to the nationally known companies, right now. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, as far as that goes. But the point that I'm trying to make to everyone is that Mike knows what he's talking about. In fact, during your playing days, let's call this your playing days, there was a song that was pretty well known at the time. I remember in my youth that it was on. What was that song?
Well, I was in the band that did Pac-Man Fever in 1981.
Pac-Man Fever.
And but my partner on that was a guy named Jerry Buckner, and the group's called Buckner Garcia, and we made a living to be able to do our dream of records by doing jingles for local and national advertisers.
See, but there's something else that's happening right now, and this is my point of view. On the internet right now, the internet is going from a transition. It's because the internet, we talked to Jim Edwards a few weeks ago that the internet is going from a static media to more of multimedia. And to me, audio is certainly the most viable piece that's available right now, because there can be debates on video and things like, heck, I use video. Everyone on this call, if they've gone to the BigSeminar website, they know I use video. But do I think it's available on the mass basis right now? Probably not. But audio is ready.
Yeah, that's the thing that was the objection. When I started my first company that was non-jingle and recording studio, my recording studio was one name, but I bought the domain name in 97, Sound Pages, because I thought web pages needed sound.
Yeah.
And real media was pretty much all there was back then, and it worked for me on dial-up. You could stream an audio file, and you could produce an audio program and listen to it. But, the objections, the consensus with most people, businesses, internet users, and marketers, is it's too hard, it's not usable, it doesn't work, why would you do it? Not interested. And it was a battle, and it's what's coming around, I think, the curve that's happening now, and, you're very responsible for helping that come about, is that it does work, and it works because of Flash.
Right.
I discovered that, quite honestly, in '97.
Right.
This will be a funny thing, but I'll tell people about it, is my inspiration that audio and video, like Jim Edwards is doing, works on the web was back in '97, being in our studio, we would trade jokes with each other. That was the big thing on the Internet. Everybody send viral, funny things to each other. And this thing called joecartoon.com came to us. And it was a silly little thing. It was called Frog in a Blender. And everybody was sharing it over dial-up with each other. It was online, and it was also a download. But what it was television content with sound. And it was done in Flash 3.0, which was incredible, but it worked. It told me that a website could have broadcast content, like a television station and like a radio station. And I said, what is making this work? Because there were no challenges. There was no plug-ins to load in. It just worked automatically on my computer and everybody's computer we showed it to. And this was, I guess, this 97, 98. I said, this guy has figured out how to make television content. Now, how he monetized it back in those days, this guy, to this day, still sells double-page banner ads.
Okay.
He's still selling because he gets so much traffic because people go to see the silly content. He doesn't make any money off the content. He drives so much traffic. Well, think about that. I said, this is the television model. We don't watch television for commercials. But commercials in radio and television is what pays the bills.
Right.
So no one was making content on the Internet to build an audience like a television or radio station was. And so I was out there saying, this is another way to build an audience. The only difference between your website and NBC or ABC network is they've already got an audience.
Right.
And you got to build an audience. Well, how does radio and television build an audience? Through every mechanism known to man. But the Internet has got so many other ways to build an audience. But what happens is when you get them there and there's nothing multimedia or at least audio, I think that you're missing a tremendous opportunity. So that's why I said I'm going to learn every technology that makes audio work flawlessly.
Well, what I look at it as right now, and this, to make sure everyone understands this, is that right now, if you take your websites and just ask yourself that question, and because you can have a great sales letter, but 9 times out of 10, you'll always find someone with a better sales letter than you. I find plenty of people with better sales letters than me all the time. You can have great graphics, but again, you'll always find someone with better graphics than you. And hopefully you have a great product, and obviously products are always debatable. But everyone's biased; their own product is the best. But you know what? When it comes to sales and when it comes to conversion, what makes the difference is what makes you different. And what audio does, it kind of, especially right now, it levels the playing field between you and the bigger companies out there in the marketplace. It gives you the opportunity to be different. Be different than the other place, and it allows you to put in your own personality. Right now, you are all listening to me, on this teleseminar. You're all listening right now to myself and Mike, and you're listening to what we're saying. We're listening to how we say it. You're listening to the inflection in our voice. You're listening to the pauses. You're listening because many times it's easier because it's easier for us to talk to someone else than it is to write it. I'm not a great writer. In fact, my writing honestly kind of stinks in many respects. But I do know how to sell. I mean, I do know how to, pull out the passion of what I have and what I believe in through the use of my voice, because I've been talking, for quite some time now, and and I can tell people, and people can sense that, and so you can relay all these types of emotions through audio, and I think that's one of the biggest benefits, of audio. Now, Mike, I mean, one of the biggest things that you told me a long time ago is the quality. You kept putting in the quality of the audio, because I think it's a big pet peeve of yours, if I don't understand if I understand this correctly, that the audio quality that most people have, even if they are doing audio, is, for lack of a better word, crappy.
Well, what I discovered as I was studying to be an internet marketer. And as I was studying what other successful internet marketers were doing, I realized that one of the most important parts was creating products. And they were doing cassette programs, and I won't name any, but there were some cassette programs that I purchased back in those days to start understanding. I knew how to create quality audio. I knew this from owning a studio for 20 years.
Right.
I knew microphones, and I knew all the software, and I knew all the pieces of the puzzle that it took to do studio quality audio. But here were these people selling very high-priced ticket items that were cassette series, and the production value and the content to me was distracting because it was so poor quality. And I thought, gee, these guys have got such great content, but I was distracted, and I think some people would sense where there's editing problems, where there's interruptions, where there's things where you could really make this quite a higher quality product. And so I said, well, okay, that's something I can share with people is that I know how to make an edited, clean, quality audio product. And if this is something internet marketers are interested in doing, well, Alex Mandossian taught me information publishing. That's what this is called. I didn't even know what it was called. But information publishing is another product creation using audio. And what I wanted to understand is, okay, people are back at that time, I think, and you were a big part of this, people were making good money creating e-books.
Sure.
That was a big successful trend for quite a few people.
And still is.
And still is. But one of the things that I didn't see is that there was that same content was replicated as an audio product. And one of the reasons is a lot of people didn't know what were the software, what were the hardware, what did it take, and what made it good versus bad. If people A and B, good and bad, they instantly see it. So one of the missions that I had out here is to tell you to understand the difference. But then the biggest thing, and one of the things that really got me excited a couple of years ago, is that if I bought something in text, if I bought a printed book or an e-book, I could read it and still not comprehend it. I just have a terrible time comprehending the printed word. And I thought, well, I don't think I'm that dumb a guy, but I don't understand how I can read these words and the comprehension level is so low. Well, I started doing some research on the internet. I found out that there's a lot of studies showing that people are purely auditory learners. Fred Week talks about the different modalities of learning. People learn by different methods. Some people can do well with reading text. Other people do it by audio methods. So if you tie this in with making money on the internet, it's an incredible valuable asset for an information publisher to replicate the content he's already created in one format to have it in another format. But what's the roadblock? Well, they don't know where to start. The first thing they do is they'll maybe go to Radio Shack and buy a cheap microphone. Well, that's okay. I'm not putting down Radio Shack if anybody works Radio Shack. It's just that there is a difference between an inexpensive consumer piece of equipment versus Studio Pro equipment. And so nowadays, the equipment has gotten so small, so compact, and such incredible high quality that has become my mission now is to explain to people what equipment works.
Right, and one of the things that that I looked at on the internet. I mean, it's I think most people know this. I mean, I've been doing audio for quite some time, and the key is when I first got online was the fact that what we need to do is raise the bar of the audio content on the internet. And what I mean by raise the bar of the audio content, I took a look at some of the people doing audio. I know Alex was doing audio just a little bit before I was, and I heard his voice. His voice came on his website, and I thought, well, that's kind of neat. And and he told me, it's in Flash, because I think that's when you first started working with Alex, and
right.
And I was like, well, okay, well, I put, there's just audio there. I said, well, what if you had some music on that thing, right? And so.
You have just listened to a portion of this BigSeminar interview. To get the complete version, simply go to www.seminarsecrets.com. Find out how you can attend the next Internet Marketing Big Seminar. And for a very special offer you can't refuse, visit www.seminarsecrets.com.